Hey gang, Yuvi here. Welcome to my shop. Today I'm starting a short video series about the Smith Gas Saver. We'll check out my setup and then we'll check out Don Asby's setup. I was introduced to the use of the gas saver really through Don Asby. He had a real basic setup in his shop. It was very handy. I highly recommend getting one if you don't have one. If you do a lot of work with oxyacetylene or propane, oxygen, definitely worth every penny. You'll find that you'll use the torch more often because it's just so much easier to get going with the torch when you need it. So, like I said, I'm going to go over to Don Asby. We're going to check out his setup. It's pretty cool. We've had a little bit of an arms race in terms of modifying them or configuring them to really suit our needs. You know, these modification configurations, they don't happen in a vacuum. You know, mine is set up really because it works really well for what I need in my shop. Whereas Don's, he has a lot more space, and so his has evolved differently. And I mean, if I could do it, I would do it the way he's done it. But mine has come about because of my situation here, and it may work for you. It may not. It may not be for anyone. But it works for me, and I'm really excited to show it to you. But before we get started, I want to do the t-shirt sponsorship real quick. Today, it's sponsored by Flash Cut CNC. Remember, if you send me a t-shirt or a hat and I like your product, I will promote it for free in a little quick t-shirt sponsorship kind of situation. So these guys, I purchased their setup for my CNC plasma cutting table. I use their controllers, their motors, and it works really well. Might not be the most affordable, DIY type thing, but these guys have excellent customer service. So if you're like me, that kind of stuff is just not your strength. These guys are the way to go because you get them on the phone and you talk to someone that's, a specialist in software or someone that's good with mechanical stuff. Even the saleswoman knows so much to be able to help you with your, milling setup or lathe or, whatever. Like I said, I've got it for my plasma cutter, so highly recommend them. Service is bar none. And if you're looking into getting into CNC plasma cutting, I highly recommend checking out this company, Flash Cut CNC. So here's my setup. This is where I keep it, and I have a couple places that I like to set it up. One by my vise, so I can clamp the work and manipulate the torch, and do my thing there. And then also at my welding table, and there I have it configured so I can work with it standing up or sitting down. The height is adjustable, and I'll show you that. So let's get into it, and I'll bring it over. Well, this is where I set up at the vise. I've got a tube here and a little bar that slides into, and this is just a real handy setup for me. This is where I like to have it set up in my welding table. You can see I've got this angle and modified clamp here, and so I can attach it to most table surfaces. So yeah, let me get started right away with my pilot light setup. Because of this setup here, the pilot light, which originally would be here, just was inconveniently located, so I needed to raise it up, and it didn't function the same way as the acetylene pilot does. Now the acetylene pilot is pretty windproof, but if you have the propane oxygen setup, the pilot light is not very windproof, so you'll want to make some kind of wind shield like this. This works really well in the wind. I've got a breeze that comes through here that would blow this out, so that's why I ended up making this. And then the bonus is that now I can adjust the flame without burning my hands or without having to put gloves on, which you would have to do if you just had the normal pilot light. When this heats up, I can have the flame even higher without the soot coming, but until then I kind of have it this low. I've got these quick connects here so that I could swap out torches pretty easily. This is my Brazing Torch, and so it's super quick to go in between the two torches. Now you'll see here I've made a little, I've bent a washer with a little hook on it, and I can hang it right here. Instead of, here I'm relying on the tip of the cutter, which works really well, but if I were to swap the cutter out for a different type of tip, I have this same mechanism that I would flip around and then I'd hook here. I've got this flipped the opposite way because I don't use my torch, my cutter for cutting, because I've got a CNC plasma cutter, and what this does is this limits the oxygen's lever so that I don't accidentally burn the work that I'm heating up. I've got this little magnet here that I use that I wedge in here, and this prevents my gas saver from turning on when I'm swapping out stuff with the gas on. So yeah, that goes here. So for anyone that doesn't know how this works, I'll go over it real quick. When this lever goes up, the gas flows through the system, and then I can ignite my torch there. So, and then when the lever goes down, the gas is shut off, and then the residual gas, there's pressure there, and it'll just basically burn out, and then it's off. So I don't know if you noticed this, but what this allows me to do is to turn the torch on. I can slide this tube here, which has a little wedge, and that prevents the gas from being shut off. That allows me to hold the work in front of the torch, and basically allows me to use both hands while the torch is on, which is really handy. It's kind of similar to what glass artists might use. It's a different setup, but lamp work is done with the torch at the table like this. Definitely lower. So the way this works is I have a little magnet here and a hole drilled out in this tube, and it creates just enough friction so when I lift up the torch, it doesn't slide down and lock into place. It only moves if I move it into that location. So I talked about adjustability. I can adjust the height up and down. So when I'm standing up and working, I like to have this higher up, and then when I'm seated at the table, I like to have this lower. So that's it. Hey guys, I hope you liked this video. If you did, please like, subscribe if you haven't already, and keep your eye out for the next video, which will be about Don Asby's version of the gas saver. And that's about it. Peace.